Welcome to yet again another episode of Sports Nonsense and Whiskey, Tuesday, March 15th. Tourney time.
Wow.
It has begun.
March Madness, baby. Oh, man, it was a great day. Just sitting there going, man, everybody says March Madness started. It doesn't start. Nobody cares about these play-in games. These play-in games don't matter.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, they don't really count. So, as far as the tournament bracket goes, nobody picks these games and towards the betting lines and stuff. It's not there part of the actual field of 64, but it is a field of 68. You win these games, you're in the big dance, so they do matter. They're just not part of the overall betting line of the brackets per se. So
if you don't go to those schools, like, you could care less. They don't exist.
Look, I got it on right now, sitting here right next to me. I've got the game on. So
you're a sick man.
I care, but I understand where you're coming from.
You're a sick man, Caleb. We know that.
I mean, when it comes to sports, I've got a disease. There's no doubt about
it. Coin flipping, and you'd be all about it.
Hey, man, if that was all there was, I would be on top of that for sure.
So tell me a little bit about what's the intriguing storyline here.
As far as the tourney goes?
Yeah.
Man, I'm going to have to unfortunately divulge some information that I'd rather not make public, but I have not been able to follow college basketball this year like I normally do the way I'd want to. Apparently having a young child does eat some time, and thought I could get over it and still fill everything in. And that, fortunately, college basketball seems to be the one thing that I fell behind on. And part of it is due to the fact that a lot of those games start the 5-6 o'clock hour, and that's right during, dinner and bedtime routine. And I have not been able to stay up with it the way I need to. So my knowledge is very weak this year. But I'd say the biggest storyline, at least for me, is going to be whether or not Gonzaga can finally win it all. They've got plenty of Sweet 16, plenty of Final Four appearances. A few has definitely built that program into a blue blood. But as far as winning the overall dance, they have not been able to do that yet. Runner-up last year, losing to Baylor. They had a run, looked like they were going to be able to pull it out. We're not able to do so. Now they got Timmy, their senior, coming back. Consensus player of the year nominee when the season started, had a great year. Their freshman, Chet Holmgren, is nasty. He is a Kevin Durant incarnate in the fact that he is a skinny, lanky, super tall dude who can play everywhere on the court. So that's I think the biggest storyline is, can Gonzaga pull it off? Now, those storylines are going to change quickly after Thursday and Friday. After that first round goes down, tourney time starts, madness begins, never fails, no matter how well you think it's going to go. It does not go the way you expect. So they'll change. You've got plenty of parity this year, I feel like.
Absolutely.
Granted, I haven't been able to watch it the way I normally do and follow, but everything I've heard, everything I've read in the last week or so, the parity is ridiculous this year.
I haven't watched any. Checked Bleacher Report, like, hey, how's the Jayhawks doing? That's about it. I noticed all the number one seeds all have at least 3 losses. Like, we don't have that dominant seed that came in undefeated. Like, it's wide open, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely wide open. So, you've got in the West, we can just start running through the bracket real quick here. You got Gonzaga and Duke as 1 and 2 in the West. I don't see a lot of possibilities of anybody upsetting those two, other than the fact that Duke could play Michigan State in the second round. That would be your Izzo Calipari, Izzo Krzyzewski matchup. Izzo is notorious for, no matter what his team did in the regular season, finding a way to get them tourney ready and making a run. So Michigan State is always dangerous. And then the other team is Connecticut. They don't have that one guy this year that's just dominating everything, but as a team, they played really well. They could cause Gonzaga some problems it would be the Sweet 16 if they both make it there. So that could be interesting. Out in the East, you got the defending champions Baylor with a 1 seed. The 2 seed is going to be Kentucky. A lot of people are talking about Kentucky coming out of the East. So that'll be interesting to watch. North Carolina's in the East. They're an 8 seed. I love North Carolina basketball. Always have. Part of it's because growing up, you're not told that Nebraska has any other sports other than football. So, right, exactly. Not at least on the men's side. Women's has great basketball, volleyball. They're dominant in a lot of things. Men's sports, it was football, and I grew up thinking that was the only thing they had until I was like 8 or 9. And by that time, I had picked another team, and my best friend growing up was a Carolina fan. So I just kind of attached on and rolled with it. Glad he picked a really good team to root for, so that him. But Carolina did beat Duke pretty handily in Krzyzewski's final game in Cameron Indoor. So they could surprise some people, but I'm not holding a lot of hope there that they're going to do anything major in the tournament this year.
Spoiler alert, I looked through all the brackets and just was like, hey, just going to do the number ones.
Arizona is the number 1.
You kind of cut out a moment there, buddy, on the stream.
I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. I'm new technology. I don't know what I'm doing. Arizona is the 1 seed out in the South, though. They could cause a lot of issues. I do feel like they'll probably make the Final Four. The 2 seed Villanova, I don't think Villanova is that strong this year. They did win the Big East, beat Creighton in the finals. Big Creighton fan over here. My brother went to school there. It's a Nebraska school, so I'm going to root for Creighton. That was the basketball team that everybody thought Nebraska had. Creighton's not that strong this year. They could go on a run, but they don't have a lot of crazy talent. So I think Arizona probably comes out of there. Your Kansas team got a 1 seed in the Midwest bracket, which
they didn't deserve a 1 seed.
We all know what that means, though. If they have a 1 seed, they're probably losing in the Sweet 16. That feels like a Kansas thing to do.
They lose every year and break my heart. So it is what it is.
What's funny about saying that is the matchup they could see is Iowa, the 5 seed in that Sweet 16. I believe the guy's name is Bohannon, if I'm remembering correctly, for Iowa.
I think so.
He's the type of dude who can light up real quick and carry a team to the Final Four. He's got that kind of potential, and that's kind of what you look for in the NCAA tournament is, does that team have one guy who can get really hot and just play lights out for a couple games and move your team along in the brackets? So I actually kind of like Iowa to upset Kansas in that Sweet 16 matchup. The 2 seed out there is Auburn. Auburn can play some crazy D, and they play at a high pace. So they've got a really good chance. They were number 1 in the country for a while. The SEC was probably the best conference, so they're battle-tested. So I could see Auburn making a run to the Final Four as well. But like I said, all the talk this year is about the parity of the tournament. And there was not really any talk about the committee getting it wrong this year. There was some talk about the seeding could have been a little bit different here and there, but for the most part, everybody really liked the way the seeding fell and the teams that were in and the teams that were out. So other than that, I don't have a lot to say right now. Next Tuesday, I'll have a whole lot to say because we'll have the first 2 rounds done. Plenty of madness will ensue, as everybody knows. That's why this is, in my opinion, the premier championship tournament out of any sport in the world. I love the World Cup. It is amazing. It is anything you can think of on steroids with the amount of people that watch and that are involved, and the way people root for their countries is like a college situation with that passion and fan base. NFL playoffs are always great, as we saw this year. I don't think we really had a bad round of the NFL playoffs. Super Bowl was a little lackluster maybe, but as a whole,
I mean, if your team won in the Super Bowl, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be. But, as an outside perspective fan who didn't have any skin in the game, NFL playoffs are good. I love them. NBA playoffs, unless you're a basketball fan, can be very hit or miss, especially at the 1 and 8 seed kind of matchups in the first round. Nothing compares to March Madness. Nothing compares to this field of 64, win and you move on, one and done kind of scenario. There is nothing like it. And year in and year out, it never fails to give us the excitement that everybody hopes and expects for.
And I like it when the field shrinks, Sweet 16, Elite 8, when there's not that many games to watch and I can focus on that one game that's on.
Oh man, I got multiple TVs always on. All channels are going. I'm switching back and forth constantly. I'm watching everything round one because that's where a lot of the upsets happen. The 5-12 matchups are always a guaranteed at least one upset there. The 13-4s have become like that for the most part as well. You finally had a 16 beat a 1 seed a couple years back when Virginia lost to UMBC.
I just noticed that they like to, there's nothing going on at the moment. Let's switch to another game. And then they don't come back, for 10 minutes.
Well, if you're watching Pinky, every game is aired on a channel now. They take 4 channels. All 4 games during that hour are broadcast at the same time. The only reason they switch out of this, there's a blowout, which happens plenty. But there's also more good games than there are bad. So anybody not watching the tournament, shame on you. It is where you need to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then we'll do it all again a week from then, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it doesn't get much better than that.
If you love college basketball, this is the time.
No, if you love basketball, period.
Yeah. There's good basketball that is played. And if you're a betting degenerate like some of us, you also enjoy.
Well, I can only imagine what bookies are rolling through during this time of year. It's so much spreads and seeds, and it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. That's why it's called March Madness. I mean, it's given the name for a reason, and it holds to it every year. Since I can remember watching the tournament, I cannot remember a year where something crazy didn't happen right out the jump. First round games, something's going down, buzzer beaters, upsets, it never fails. So I'm stoked. I'm jazzed. I'm going to lose my mind plenty of times. I'm probably going to have to use that mute button a lot because I'll be working. And sometimes I can't control the excitement, so I'll have to have that handy. But I'm ready to go. Game's on right now. We just had Texas Southern and Texas something A&M. I'm drawing a blank now. Texas Southern won that one pretty handily towards the end there. You got Indiana and Wyoming going right now. Wyoming actually had kind of a surprise year. Indiana's got a really down year. But they've had some down years here a lot recently, especially since Bobby Knight left. They're not the same program they used to be. So
they don't generate the same talent and hype as they used to.
No, they do not. So, but hey, tournament, baby. Something crazy could happen tonight. That's the beauty of it.
That's why it's March Madness.
That's right, buddy. That's right. So that's what I got on the tourney for right now. I'm not going to go too deep, too crazy, but that's where I'm at. See, you got your whiskey. I just realized I left mine sitting on the counter upstairs. So
you always have to have a little whiskey. This is a Old Smoky peanut butter. Wife brought this back from Nashville, Tennessee. And then she was super excited about it. And then I was like, oh yeah, we have that at the thing because it's at the store. She thought it was only in Nashville.
How's it compared to Screwball?
It was special.
How's it compared to Screwball?
Screwball's better, but this is still good. It's still good to sip on. I don't think I've had a peanut butter whiskey that's better than Screwball.
No, I don't think there's one that exists. But
Screwball is definitely would be a top sponsor of the show.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
We would have them on a regular basis. So. We don't have it. I don't have as good of a whiskey selection here at the house as I do at the studio. So,
the studio, we've kind of conglomerated everything to that.
All right. What's next, Caleb?
What do you got on the agenda, buddy?
I think we got to talk Joker and Embiid.
Man, I'll tell you what, right now, after that game last night, some people are finally starting to change their minds on who is the front runner for the MVP conversation.
It's really funny. I don't like to compare. I mean, Joker and Embiid are nowhere on the level Jordan LeBron, right? But I feel like if you're a Joker guy, you're a Joker guy. If you're an Embiid guy, you're an Embiid guy. And no matter what arguments we present, like, we're not going to change an Embiid person's mind. It's just,
I will say that's pretty true. I will say, though, a lot of the shows this morning that I was listening to with the Talking Heads, there were people that have been screaming Embiid's name all year, and they have switched after last night. And a lot of it had to do with that fast break that Jokic ran off the rebound and threw that no-look dime needle threading right down the middle of the lane for the wide open dunk for his man. So when you watch a 7-footer lead the break and control the game from one end to the other with the ball in his hand, and it's not just by scoring, it's by getting other people involved and bringing along the entire team with you. I mean, they were down by 19 at one point. People thought that game was over, and that changed.
I checked my phone. I was like, 19 already? What's happening? And then just kind of kept checking back. Like, oh, we're clawing back in. Next thing I know, third quarter, we had the lead.
It was great. It was a great game. I mean, Bones Highland is starting to show out a little bit more, which a lot of people who are Nuggets fans know of him very well. He's very much up and coming. And again, Joker's doing this without his 2 and 3 guy in Murray and MPJ. Embiid, you could say he didn't have his Batman or his Robin to his Batman with Simmons not playing, but he still had Maxey. He still had Tobias Harris. He still had Thibault.
I mean, now he's got Harden.
Guys. Yeah, and now he's got Harden. And look what Harden did in that game last night. Nothing.
I mean, he still put up 25, I think. It just
quiet 25. Quiet. It doesn't matter. I mean, that's what Harden does in big game situations. He disappears in that crunch time moment when you really need to do something. So Embiid is good. Don't get me wrong. He is phenomenal. And he can do a lot of things on a basketball court that Jokic can't quite do, just because he can jump a little higher, he can move a little faster. So that's where people start getting these comparisons and thinking Embiid's the better player. Jokic has that old man kind of game, is how I kind of relate it. You go to the Y and you see that old man, you're like, I'm going to light this dude up. And for whatever reason, his footwork's a little bit better, his vision's a little bit, his mind's a little bit more clear than everybody else's, and he starts putting up points and he starts dishing dimes.
His basketball IQ is pretty high.
Jokic's basketball IQ might be the highest in the league right now, which is crazy to say, but his vision, I mean, he had not just the dime that I talked about, which I jumped out of my seat. My wife came running over, thought something was wrong. So that's how excited I got with that. But then he's throwing full court passes right to the guy in stride, like he's a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers throwing to his wideouts on a deep route. He's just so accurate and his vision's so incredible. And then when he needs to, he's starting to learn that he can take over a game with scoring. So he's playing on another level. He's leading in like every major statistical static category when it comes to per and plus minus and all that good stuff. So he's the MVP right now. And I don't see that changing. But the name that a lot of people aren't talking about, which is really blowing my mind right now, is Luka Doncic. He's got his team third, I believe, or fourth in the West right now.
They're fifth.
Fifth. Okay, so they're right above the Nuggets at 6. But he's doing almost the exact same thing when you're looking at points, rebounds, assists that Joker is doing. And he doesn't really have a whole lot of talent around him either. So the fact that his name isn't really in this conversation right now is pretty mind-blowing to me, to be honest with you. And then obviously Giannis is sitting there. If anybody slows down and Giannis keeps playing the way he's playing, he could come out of nowhere and win it again. So
Giannis right now, his last 4 games are literally absurd.
It's basically what Jokic did a week ago with his 4 games.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Giannis is playing out of his mind, and he always has been. And what I said this last year, I said he is a Robin unless he figures out what his strengths are. And he figured out his strengths in the playoffs last year. He's not an outside shooter. He's not a jump shooter. He's a head-on, down the lane, right at the rim. He's a rebounder. He's an assist guy. And he's learned that he can play off the low block. And when he starts doing that, and he can make some open shots. He's definitely created a shot that a lot of people didn't think he could. So he can shoot the ball from the outside if he's wide open. It's not at a high clip, but it's over 30%, which isn't bad. So he's found himself. I think he found himself in the playoffs last year. And I would no longer ever say he is a Robin. He is the Batman on that team. He is the leader.
Just got to
and
keep
the way
playing
he
aggressive.
goes, everybody else goes.
He's got to keep playing aggressive like he has been.
Absolutely.
Keep it up. That just works well for him.
Absolutely. But it's getting to be crunch time here. You got about a month left in the NBA season. There's going to be a lot of shuffling here for the top 5-6 spots on both conferences. And then I think the other big story, and I have no problem saying this right now, I don't think the Lakers even make the play-in tournament. I don't even think they make the top 10 at the rate they're going right now. And that's even if Anthony Davis comes back.
The NBA needs the Lakers to be in those play-in games, not to get in, but just to be in those play-in games.
Nah, I don't think so anymore. I think that's old hat. I think that's old way of thinking, old mentality. You got to have those big guys. It's such a Giannis is a superstar in Milwaukee, and people thought that that's something that couldn't happen. So the way the NBA has done their marketing and the way
they're getting better.
Stars, yeah, I don't think you need that anymore. As long as you've got those stars in it, people are tired of LeBron. They're tired of hearing about him. They're tired of hearing the whining. I don't think they care if he's in the playoffs. Lakers fans will. I don't think anybody else does.
I will give a shout out to our boy Sam. He's on the live feed. Brought up there is an interesting, crazy stat. LeBron is averaging like the most points by a 39-year-old or whatever age he is ever.
LeBron's stat chasing right now. Plain and simple. He is stat.
But he has like nobody around him to help like take those points or
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. If you're supposed to be as good as you are and you're supposed to be the GOAT, you should be making everybody around you better. Rising all tides. And he's not doing that at all. In fact, his attitude over the last 2 weeks, especially on the bench and around his teammates, has been terrible.
He's ready to get out of there, man.
Look, it's his fault. He got rid of all the young talent they had to bring in the guys that he wanted and then fill in from there, and it's backfired on him terribly. So I don't know what people want to hear or say, but LeBron created his own situation, and now he's whining about it.
He got a ring out of it. I mean, that's good.
I think a lot of people like to put the asterisk on that ring. I don't. They played the games. He won the championship. There was a series, and he won.
I mean, if we don't have that time off, Anthony Davis maybe doesn't come back as healthy as he did. Because Street Clothes Davis has issues staying healthy, but they won it fair and square. They really did.
I mean, it was a weird year. Everybody had to go through it. So props to the Lakers. They made it through. They got their championship. Lakers fans still aren't happy. So, well, as far as I'm concerned, you created it. You made your bed, lie in it, and I'm tired of hearing him whine about it.
You get a little spoiled, right? And you're not used to losing. And you don't like the taste. The losing is not fun.
He's going to end up playing somewhere with Bronny right now is what it sounds like. And
Bronny's awful.
He's not bad. He's just not he's not a 5-star recruit. And what's funny is that there's a good chance that he gets drafted simply because that team will get LeBron to come play with him. Because right now he's a G League guy who doesn't get drafted and is going to have to fight his way.
But that's still like 2 years away, right?
Next year he will be a senior in high school, and there is talk that the NBA will get rid of their has to go to college for 1 year rule kind of thing. So he may be able to jump right from high school. If not, he's going to have to do the one and done and then see what happens. But man, that's a dangerous proposition for a young talent like that to be a one-and-done guy and just get drafted because your dad's playing for the team. He right now looks like a guy who could grow into something really good, but it would be a 3 or 4 year college stay rather than a 5-star recruit straight to the NBA. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. But like you said, we're at least a year away. And then if the NBA changes their rule finally, which is the dumbest rule in professional sports, in my opinion, simply because it was only made to keep owners safe from themselves from drafting poor talent. But whatever.
That's exactly why they did it.
Oh yeah.
Too many of these kids were coming in with the measurables. He should be able to develop. He should be able to play. And sometimes it takes those guys 3-4 years. Sometimes they're good right out of the gate. It was such a gamble that they were like, let's protect ourselves from this.
Yeah, the Moses Malone, Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant is a very rare thing. And a lot of owners were trying to draft that next kid right out of high school who was going to be a superstar, and it backfired.
Yeah, I hate that rule. If we don't have that rule, Kansas wins a championship because then Carmelo's not playing for Syracuse. Boom.
Oh, that you could be right there, actually.
KU was the best team that year.
You could be right. Melo went on a nasty
only played because he had to.
That's probably true. It's not like you guys didn't win a championship, though. You've got one still after that. But, yeah, that's very true.
We are like the Braves of the college basketball world. We should have more than one in the last, 20 years. We're a consistent number one seed.
I won't say that because you guys have never really had that superstar. Kansas has never had that one true dude. You've had a lot of really good guys, and you've had some really good teams, but you've never had that dude. And what's funny about that is
now if you do have that dude, you only have him for a year.
Hey, if it wins you a championship, a lot of people don't care. Because if you're Coach Calipari down in Kentucky, you're reloading with a whole new starting five of freshmen the next year. And he's only got one. So think about that. But I think Kansas wishes they were Florida, because Florida won back-to-back some years back with Joakim Noah and I'm going to draw a blank on his name right now. Oh, he's playing with the Celtics again. Center. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. I cannot believe I'm drawing a blank on this guy's name. Anyways, they had some guys, Corey Brewer, not a superstar. They didn't have a superstar. But they won back-to-back with those guys. They all stuck around for another one. They came back. They won. That's what Kansas was hoping they could be. And they've just never really been able to accomplish it.
So before we move on to our next topic, got to drop a line out there on Karl-Anthony Towns dropping 60.
Oh, man. 34 in the third. Nasty.
And Kyrie Irving dropped 60 tonight.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, he had 41 in the first half.
Dude, I said it all the time. As a basketball talent, I love watching Kyrie. Love watching him. But it's hard to argue that the dude's not a head case. Some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth is hard to listen to.
Hanging out with Kanye too much.
But on the basketball court, the dude is a savant. He is insanely good and does things that it looks so fluid and simple that people are like, he's not, that's everybody. Nah, everybody can't do that. And he might be the best finisher around the rim in the entire NBA. And he plays below it. So that's even crazier to think about, that he is that fluid in those tight spaces around there with guys a lot bigger than him. So doesn't surprise me that he hung 60. The question is going to be, they need Simmons in the playoffs. And if they don't have Simmons, I don't think they can get the ring. Kevin Durant and Kyrie could get them to the finals. I just don't think they could win with just those two.
Is Simmons not healthy, or what's the not in playoff basketball shape? Like, what's the deal? I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going on with him. As far as everybody knows, he's physically healthy. There's absolutely no reason why he shouldn't be playing. So that leads me to believe it's all mental, and it's no different than the fact that the dude could have a wide open jump shot last year and refuse to take it. I don't know how you get to this level of basketball and you don't have a jump shot. Sean Marion proved it doesn't matter what it looks like. You can still have something and make it go in. That dude had a push shot from his chest, which is unheard of at that level, and became a perennial teammate for a lot of great guys. And, so there's no, I could go teach Sean Marion how to shoot left-handed, Ben Simmons how to shoot left-handed. I'm not even left-handed. And I could shoot better left-handed right now than he shoots, period, which I don't understand how that happens. I don't understand how you can become a professional athlete and you're missing one of the biggest parts of the game.
So if he comes back, the reason he makes the Nets so good has nothing to do with his scoring. It's the fact that he can guard basically every position on the court, and he's a phenomenal defender. Probably could have won Defensive Player of the Year last year. That's how good he is. And then he's a great passer.
He better hurry up because the Nets are 8th right now in the East. And, that's not great. I mean, they should make the play-in, but that's tough.
Well, here's the deal. If Kyrie is allowed to play in those games, the Nets advance. It's no question. The Nets advance if Kyrie's able to play. The problem with that is right now, if they get out, it looks like they play Toronto, which means he's not playing half of those games. Oh, wait, no, it means he's not playing any of the games because he can't play home or away. So I don't know what's going to happen. I've heard Canada's starting to lessen some of their restrictions, so that could possibly change. I have a feeling New York will not have their mandates in place by the time the playoffs roll around, so I'm guessing he'll be able to play in home games. But there's nothing available right now that says that he's going to be able to play. So it's a giant what if right there for the Nets.
I was just glad I got the email today taking Pinky Jr. out to the Nuggets Celtics game Sunday. And they have Ball Arena has had a mask mandate and a proof of vaccination or proof of negative test within 72 hours of the game. And I'm so glad I got an email today.
Yeah, they got rid of it.
I was like, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah. Little ridiculous.
My oldest son hasn't got, he's like, I keep wanting to go get vaccinated, but I haven't. And he just keeps putting it off. And it's like, well, I was like, you might have to take a COVID test to go. Oh, yeah, I could do that. That's fine. I was like, well, if you got the time to do that, just go get vaccinated, buddy. Go make it happen.
But I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays. I mean, that's an extra wrench in everything that has nothing to do with the game. And what's even crazier is Kyrie was at the Nets game in Madison Square Garden sitting courtside 2 nights ago.
They got fined for that.
They got fined because he got into the locker room after the game. Yeah. He went and celebrated with his teams after the win, and he went into the locker room with his teammates. So they got fined for that. But no issue with him coming in as a fan, sitting courtside without a vaccination. But there's an issue with him playing? Like, common sense, people, eludes so many these days. It's mind-blowing. So whatever. But I can tell you right now, Commissioner of the NBA is not happy about the situation. Not happy at all. And he's come out and said it. So I do think before playoffs start, we're going to see that these things change. So to be determined.
Well, there's going to be a lot of good stuff down the stretch when it comes to the NBA. And since we are still in that no man's land before football comes back, I guess since we last recorded, baseball's back.
Yeah, go figure. I did not think it was going to happen.
Dan and Zach, they're happy. They were hoping this would get done. They're as big on baseball as I'm on football. And I love that about those guys. I can't do it. Too many games. I can't do it. But and the Rockies suck most of the time, so it's hard to have that real excitement about baseball. The Rockies will get you excited in April and May, and then by June you're like, what the hell happened? So
guaranteed. Absolutely.
It takes all of that excitement away from you really quickly when you're in Colorado.
Well, what's even funnier is they're talking about signing some big name free agents to some contracts, but they won't keep their all-star shortstop.
Well, I saw they're talking about signing Albert Pujols, and I was like, why?
Nah, the Rockies are trash.
Does Pujols sell any tickets? I know who sells tickets. Trevor Story, Nolan Arenado, who's Tulowitzki before he got hurt and all that. LeMahieu.
Matt Holiday before that when they went on the Rocktober run. I mean, they've had talent. Talent's never been an issue there. They never get the right pitchers. And I'm tired of hearing people be like, "Whoa, it's Mile High. You're never going to get baloney." Baloney. There are guys who have pitched better at Mile High than they did on the road. So it's just whether or not you're going to spend the money on them and show those pitchers that you're going to have a team around them. If you show them you're going to have a team around them, I bet you guys there's plenty of dudes out there who would let their stats go a little bit pitching at Coors, but know they've got a chance to get to the World Series. And nobody's going to be able to convince me otherwise. And you know why? Because the Rockies have never done it to prove me wrong. So until they do that, I'm going to keep believing that is definitely an option. They just don't do it.
So the baseball commissioner comes off looking really horrible throughout this whole ordeal.
Par for the course with Manfred.
Thankfully, and I know you and I are not baseball purists.
No. So, I love baseball. I love it as much as Zach. I don't care what he says. I love baseball as much as Zach.
Well, that's not what I said. You're not a purist.
You're right. Purist, traditionalist, whatever you want to call it. That is not me, and baseball people hate me.
I saw being in the Twitterverse, you see a lot of stuff. And I saw so much evil and negative towards the universal DH.
Oh, I'm hearing people loving it.
So I enjoy it
because
I've been on the bandwagon of most pitchers suck at batting because they don't spend a lot of time doing it, which they could have. I agree with your point that they could. They all hit in high school. They hit in college if they go to college. Like, I think pitchers could hit and develop that if they did it all the time, but most pitchers don't spend their time batting. So when they come up to bat, you're like, it's an automatic out, it's a walk, or maybe they put it in play, and that one time out of 30, you get excited that they put it in play. I don't want that at all. I hate that. I would rather have a guy that you're like, that guy's going to hit 300 as a DH. He's old, he's fat, but he can knock the ball out of the park. I'm happy with it. I like universal DH.
I think you're taking skill away from the game and you're only diminishing the quality that you could have. And I'm going to keep coming back to it.
There's no quality
the best baseball player of all time. Arguably the best baseball player, Babe Ruth. His pitching stats alone before he got traded to the Yankees, and then I think it's the first year or two that he was with the Yankees, are Hall of Fame stats.
Hey, him and Ohtani are rare breeds, okay?
But they shouldn't do that. They shouldn't be rare breeds. That's what frustrates me so much is if these pitchers didn't grow up going, man, all I got to do is pitch, maybe you'd see a lot more of that. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't. The reason Ohtani does it is because he kept hitting. Now, granted, he was a good hitter who could also pitch, but the more you do something, the better you get at it. If you never do it, you're never going to be good at it. So between that and then the banning of the shift, all I see baseball doing, and I don't care what anybody tells me, I have yet to hear somebody give me an argument that makes sense. And Dan tried. I'll give him credit. Dan tried. But when you ban the shift, all you're doing, plain and simple, is putting the defense at the defense at a disadvantage because you're catering to the offense and the hitter. And so if that guy can't do anything but pull the ball, the defense should be able to line up any way they want to prevent that from happening. And we've talked about it, and I gave the idea. It's no different than if football was like, you know what, this quarterback can't really throw a lot of great balls, so you guys have to play a very specific defense, and that's all you can play. That would be terrible. It would be awful to watch. But baseball's like, you know what? I got an idea. Let's cater to the people who aren't good at something and make a rule to help them out.
Our buddy Sam makes a great point here. Definitely a different game from when Ruth pitched. Different, caliber of hitters that you face every day. The DH is great for offense, and in any sport that needs excitement and offense, it's baseball.
Is it different though, Sam? I mean, when you look back at Ruth, there's a lot of names that come up, especially in the Yankees alone, who were amazing hitters back then. And you also had dudes pitching 3 days in a row without the 5 days rest, and they were pitching complete games.
It's not the same caliber of dudes you face now with the same, like, most of the guys
the pitchers aren't the same caliber either, though. The game's evolved in that regard, but you're comparing apples and oranges, I feel like, in that regard. Because Ruth would have been great now, by all accounts, based on his numbers and his WAR and everything else that you want to look at. He'd be an all-time great hitter now. And people say the pitching's even better now. They're throwing 100 miles an hour is average now these days. And that was unheard of 20, 30 years ago. So everything's evolved with the game in that regard. I just don't think the game's evolved itself. But I see where you're going. I don't completely disagree.
That's one of the rules that I think you could argue, and I think you'd be wrong. The pitch clock. I'm excited about that one.
Now, see, this is the one I think is a complete joke. Like, you're going to force somebody to throw.
Absolutely.
Nah. There's too much. That's the beauty of baseball, though. It's a chess match.
There's too much of that bullshit of I'm stepping off the mound. I don't like the batters backing away. I got to fix
That's what should be banned, Pinky. That's what should be banned. Once you step in the box, you should not be able to back out of it again. I don't need guys adjusting their gloves after every pitch. What a joke. Put your gloves on, stand in the box, and let's start pitching.
I'm with you on that.
The problem is not the pitchers, it's the batters.
But the pitchers do a lot of that too. Like, they kind of sit back, they put glove.
Yeah, but a lot of it's when guys are on base. So then you're looking at keeping a guy honest at first, not letting him get to a huge lead and getting that jump for a possible steal. That's where the chess match really starts, and that's the beauty of baseball.
That one doesn't go into effect till I think the shift goes into effect next year. I think
the pitch clock and the shift are technically not rules yet. They're being tested in the minors, but the likelihood is they'll probably be in the major leagues next year.
They they are doing an oversized base. That's an update as well.
Yeah, and I don't okay. Like,
that's to help with injuries and stolen bases and trying to bring up more offense, more guys.
That one I could care less about. Like, you're just allowing the guy a little bit more room to step on the bag and keep running. That one I don't.
This one, I'm not sure. I like it, but I'm not sure how I feel about 12 teams are going to make the playoffs.
It should. They need to expand.
I do kind of like that because there's a lot of teams, and baseball has like the smallest amount of teams make the playoffs. So I do like that. But the
30 teams, letting 12 in, I don't see any issues there.
Especially 4 seeds get buys.
Right.
The one thing about buys in baseball, which again, I still think this is what killed the Rockies when they played the Red Sox in the World Series. They were off for a whole week.
That didn't have anything to do with buys. It had to do with they swept their way to the World Series.
Anytime you're off for a full week, though, and you kind of lose some of the momentum.
It's going to kill you. In baseball, absolutely. It's going to kill you. But the Rockies are a different breed because they were playing so hot, they basically swept their way to the World Series, and they had to sit a week waiting for the AL champ to get through their series. And that's what killed them, honestly. In baseball, though, the way that it's you're looking at maybe a 5-game series for the first round. I think I heard it was going to be 3 for that first. I'm going to have to
keep it at 5. I don't like the 3-game series. I don't.
Making it quick with the first round so that those buys, like you said, those guys sitting don't get cold. I don't mind that. The kicker with baseball is part of the reason there were so few teams in the playoffs before is because they had such a long regular season. So the idea was the regular season mattered. You played all those games to see who was worthy of actually moving on. With them expanding the playoffs, they really need to cut those games down. I think about 132, cut about 30 games off of that schedule at a minimum, I think would make it a lot better.
I could agree with you on that. Baseball is way too fucking long for me. I cannot stand baseball being 162 games. It's too much.
We will see. There's no talk right now of lessening the regular season. So I don't see that happening. And part of that is because if they lessen the amount of games played in the regular season, people start losing cuts of money. And
all right,
those guys don't like to lose their money.
Since Zach and Dan aren't here, and I'm sure they could wax poetic on these points, but they're not here. So I'm going to roll through them pretty quick.
Let's hear it.
All right. Braves let Freddie Freeman walk. trade for Matt Olson from the A's. Immediately sign him for an 8-year, $168 million deal.
He's younger than Freeman. So my personal belief is that had a lot to do with it for Atlanta. I'm still surprised they let Freddie Freeman walk. That he is the Braves. Same way that Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz were in the late 80s, early 90s, the same way Chipper Jones was in the mid 90s to early 2000s.
Freddie Freeman Justice, Terry Pendleton.
So the fact that they let him walk, especially after they won the World Series, I really thought they would keep him around. But if you're talking just business sense, grabbing Olson and signing him to a long-term deal with him being quite a few years younger makes a lot of sense long-term. And he's good. He's really good. So it's not like they're losing anything by that move.
A great deal by the Braves. Let's see. Yankees trade for former MVP Josh Donaldson at third base.
Everything I've heard is the Yankees made their team worse with that deal. Everything I've heard and read is the Yankees made themselves worse with that deal, which is crazy. Not really sure what they're thinking. Their pitching staff still needs a ton of help. Their bats that they thought were going to be really good are so-so. So I'm not. I mean, I don't really like the deal either. Donaldson has been great for.
Imagine if they had some on-base guys around their power hitters, man.
That's kind of the thing, though. They have had some of those guys, and they've either let them walk or they've traded them. So what the Yankees are doing these days without Cashman and some of the other guys who were in the front office really running some of those teams, it's mind-boggling.
And then the last one, at least major one for the moment, the Mets acquired Chris Bassett from the A's, who's an all-star pitcher.
Man.
So they're starting 5. When you go 5, it's not that great, but they're starting 3 is DeGrom, Max Scherzer, and Chris Bassett.
Well, and actually their fourth dude, Taiwan, I can't remember how to say it.
Walker.
He's starting to come around too. So, but DeGrom and Scherzer alone is insane. And then you go throw Bassett in there, who can be a 1 on a lot of other teams, and is not going to be 3.
Gonna have to give him some run support, man.
That's always been the problem. That's part of the reason DeGrom has won the Cy Young with a losing record, the only one to do it, is because he's pitching with a 1.3 ERA and his team's averaging 0.9 runs per game. Like, it's absurd what those stats look like when you go back and look at them. But if they can bring in some bats and they can if they can average 3 runs a game, they could probably win 100 games this year, which is absurd to think about.
I mean, if they get run support, they can. But
well, like I said, they got to average about 3 runs a game to get there. But
probably 5.
Honest, with those first 3 dudes that they have going every 5 days, you get 3 runs a game and you're probably winning 90 plus games. And that's crazy. That's unheard of.
Oh.
But it's also crazy to think the Yankees are not going to be the team to watch this year in New York.
Well, let's be honest. The Yankees are the Lakers of baseball.
Oh, yeah. But there's a reason for it. They have 27 titles.
You either love them or you hate them. And if you hate them, you love it when they suck. So
funny is baseball people are going to hate me. I am indifferent to the Yankees. And part of it's because my grandfather and my dad grew up Yankees fans. So I've always paid attention to the Yankees. I've always kind of had a soft spot in my heart for them. But I don't necessarily root for them either. They are the evil empire in a lot of people's minds. And I don't mind seeing them lose. But I also don't mind seeing them win. So I'm, again, very much in the minority of baseball conversation.
I will always root against the Yankees.
Just cause, or is there a reason you're not a Yankee supporter?
I just don't like that. And again, the Dodgers and Red Sox are the same way. They don't have a problem. And again, it's not against the rules. They just spend more money than everybody else.
The way baseball's set up, man, if you got the money, you spend it. But here's the beauty of baseball, too. Very rarely does that equate to a World Series title. Very rarely.
I think Chris, our buddy Chris, makes a fine point. Baseball sucks, and we can agree they're the third sport in America. I'd say they're almost the fourth because I enjoy hockey more than baseball.
Baseball people aren't going to like this, but they're about, I would say, a decade away from soccer overtaking them at this point as well.
Let's be honest. They're fifth in my book because it's football, UFC, basketball, hockey, baseball.
Well, honestly, if you're really going to break it down like that, they're going to be even lower because you're going to have the NFL, you're going to have college football, you're going to have basketball, the NBA. There's a very good argument to be made that college basketball is above them simply because of what's going on right now with March Madness. And hockey's making a comeback, but I will still say baseball is above hockey. But that pecking order, they went from America's pastime to way down the list. And again, I'll keep saying it. It's because the game refuses to evolve. And if you're not going to evolve, you're going to keep the spans you have, and you're not going to gain any new ones.
Well, I mean, what's happening? We can be honest. At least for football, football's everywhere. It's on every bar you go to. It's on every channel. You can get it on your phone now. Like, there's so much way to absorb the content.
Absolutely. And the NFL's made it year round. They're brilliant in their marketing. It's all about the shield and not the players. And the NFL has done fabulous at creating that atmosphere. But at the same time, like, if we're being honest, football has evolved a lot since 1960. Baseball is basically the exact same since 1960. So, and I'll continue to bring that up. When you do not change and you do not evolve to the times, you're going to cause issues long term. And baseball is finally starting to see it.
They are.
Cork the bats, baby. If you're going to get a universal DH and you're going to ban the shift, let's cork the bats and see what people can really do. Let's go.
Let's get that HGH back in the game.
I mean, shoot, why not? NFL's not testing for marijuana anymore. Baseball can just turn a blind eye again and everybody will be happy.
I think it would help. I think I don't know if that would make those players last longer, but the bigger they are and the farther they could hit a ball, the more the happier we would be.
Hey, so be it. So be it.
So, since our buddy Aaron wasn't here this week, and we're not in the studio, I think we at least have to make mention to the Eddie Hall fight that's coming up. I think it's this weekend.
It is this weekend. And SP, I apologize, sir. I poo-pooed it. I laughed at it. I said it was a joke. Don't care about it. Man, I saw a confrontation between those two dudes the other night. They want to kill each other. Like, no joke. They are ready to go. And I thought they were going to just brawl right there in the street or the foyer of the hotel, wherever the hell they were. I'm excited to see what happens now.
Like, I got to find out. Is that on like the UFC Fight Pass or
I don't know. I haven't looked, but we got to figure something out
because it's going to be
watching.
It will be 2 minutes of just awesomeness.
I agree, and something crazy is going to happen in those 2 minutes. Probably,
dude. Guys that big, they're not throwing punches for more than 2 minutes.
This is not going to be a 12-round knockout brawl, but if this goes past 3 rounds, I'll be amazed.
If it goes past 2 minutes, I am shocked. Like,
it's going to be intense. I think it's going to be intense, and I am.
Those dudes have no technique, no skill. There's not going to be dodging shots or any of that. It's going to be.
There's not going to be hands up protecting. It's going to be haymakers left and right, baby.
Yeah, it's going to be very quick. So
they're playing with cork bats. That's what that's going to look like.
Eddie Hall versus the Mountain. So
dude, I know they're
find out where it's going to be.
Size-wise and strength-wise, they're very similar, but the Mountain's got to have like at least an 8-inch reach on Eddie Hall. So how Eddie Hall even gets close is going to be
He's going
to watch.
So this is going to be pretty crazy for people to watch. I'm going to show you the move. One of my good friends, Morgana, says that this is what she would do if she was in a fight. It's Eddie Hall's going to literally have to do fast as he can to get inside that range. That's 8 inches.
He's going to have to hope he can duck a haymaker and get inside, because if he can't, I don't
think the audience can see it, but 8 inches, it's big.
It's huge, especially when you're talking about a reach. Literally, if the Mountain really wants to win this fight and destroy Eddie Hall, what you should see for the first 3 rounds literally is nothing but jabs from the Mountain. And then in round 4, he should come out throwing blows. Like, if he's really trying to box, that's what you would see. I don't think we're going to see anything close to that, though.
We're not going to see any of that.
Technique is probably not going to be a high standard here in this fight. So, but yeah, SP I know is stoked for it. It's been canceled twice now, I believe, or pushed back twice because of injuries and things of that nature.
It was pushed back at least once. Okay. Yeah, because one of them tore a pec.
Yeah, which is that's a nasty injury.
Maybe or maybe it was a bicep. Might have been a bicep.
Either one is terrible.
So, all right, we got that out of the way. I felt like Aaron would give a shit if we didn't talk about that at least.
It was well mentioned.
So, NFL.
Boy, there's been a lot of news.
What a week we've had. So, lot to cover since we recorded last.
Yeah, that's an understatement, Pinky.
So when we recorded last, Aaron Rodgers had said, I'm coming back to Green Bay. And there was some reports about this contract, and then Aaron Rodgers tweeted out, no, that's bullshit. That's not the contract. So that was a little, I mean, it just seems like par for the course right now with Aaron Rodgers.
Except for it was exactly the contract.
Well, it's a little bit lower than what they were reporting. They were reporting $200 million. It's actually like 180 with 150 guaranteed.
I heard it's like 142 technically, because while it looks like a 3-year deal, they really just renegotiated this next year coming up and then put 2 on it. So it's 50, basically 50 a year.
There's some dummy years in there.
Yeah, and then his cap hit was greatly reduced because, like I said, you can make the money do anything you want. And by signing a giant-ass contract with it all being guaranteed, somehow that allowed them to what? Oh, yeah, reduce his cap hit.
I'm reading Caleb, since this is our first time on here, can you see any of the chat?
No.
Next time I'll have to give you permission to get all the chat because it's hilarious.
Oh, wait. Never mind. Look at that.
Maybe I can see the chat? Oh, there you go. Game changer.
Yeah, I can. Now I can see it.
All right.
I didn't realize I could mess with that. I'm learning, guys. I'm learning.
So Aaron Rodgers, of course, gets his deal. And then previously, the Packers had tagged Davante Adams. Within the last day or so, Davante Adams has come out and said, I will not play on the tag. The tag's $20 million. I can't blame the guy because Christian Kirk just got 21, and he's 5 times better. They
offered him a $23 million a year, and he turned it down.
He's probably going. He's probably trying to get everything he can get, which I don't blame him.
He wants the DeAndre Hopkins contract.
DeAndre Hopkins got a stupid deal. I mean,
27 a year.
Like Davante, I know you're worth a lot, but we're not dumb either. Like that's just stupidity. So
if Davante was smart, he'd take the 23 for 2 years and have an opt-out after 1 if he really wanted to, and move with Aaron Rodgers, or move when Aaron Rodgers leaves. I'm not trying to sign a long-term deal with the Packers at this point. I don't know why you'd do that.
All right, so here's the other thing we had happen. In the last week, Aaron Rodgers came back. Russell Wilson got traded out of the NFC. There's nobody in the NFC right now, really. Tom Brady was like, I don't know why I'm not playing. I should come back. I'm going to rule this. I'm going to rule this conference easy. Tom Brady comes back. It could have been that he spent 4 weeks with his kids and his wife, and he's like, maybe I want to go back to work.
I fully believe it had nothing to do with family. It had everything to do with he didn't want to be back with the Bucs. And he tried to call their bluff. They didn't have it. And he said, well, I guess, if I want to play, that's where I'm going to be. And came back.
Yeah. I mean, I think Arians was pretty confident that, like, yeah, I'll trade Brady for 5 firsts.
Yeah. Nobody's giving that up ever. So, but I mean, in his defense, his numbers that he's got, dude, Bucs can bring back most of the talent.
I mean, Brady led the league in passing yards and touchdowns in his 22nd season. That's just stupid.
Yeah, yards, touchdowns. He's playing. That's why I never believed the retirement. Nobody goes out. Nobody quits what they do when you're playing at the highest level possible. Nobody.
Yeah, no drop off. No drop off.
I can't think of one dude Calvin Johnson might be.
Barry
might be. But that
Calvin
was
Barry. But they, the Lions were like, no, we're not trading.
It was the terrible Detroit Lions, and they just wanted to go try and win, and the Lions said no. And that's all of sports. Those are the only 2 examples I can think of in all of sports history where somebody quit at the top of their game when they arguably were the best.
And I agree with them quitting because the organization they were with were not dedicated to winning. So,
dude, that's such a dumb situation. The Ford family have been awful NFL owners. Awful. And there's no other way to say it, unfortunately.
And it's hard to root against the Lions. You want them to be good.
Yeah. I mean, my brother and I grew up making little Barry Sanders shrines with our sports cards before Thanksgiving games, waiting to see what he's going to do next. So I've always had a little soft spot for the Lions. Now, I will say, with their new coach in Campbell, who looks like the guys will play for him, and he does look like he knows what he's doing as a head coach, they signed some guys that they're going to have a good offense next year, I believe. Goff's not a great quarterback, but he's not terrible. DeAndre Swift is a badass running back. You're going to have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Shark, and then Hawkinson if he can stay healthy. That's a great offense to build around.
Breaking news from our man Cody. Ovechkin from the Capitals. Is it the Capitals or the Senators?
Capitals.
Ottawa. He plays in Ottawa, right?
No, he does not. Ottawa Senators, Washington Capitals. He plays in D.C.
Capitals.
Cody, thanks for the holler, man. That's a crazy... Ovechkin's on a tear here still.
Just passed Jaromir Jagr for 3rd in all-time scoring. That's quite a feat. Jagr was on a... Gretzky and Jagr were on a different level.
Jagr just played a long time. He wasn't necessarily known as the best scorer of all time. He was always really good. But when he played with Lemieux was the guy. Jagr was kind of his 1B. Jagger's always been really, really good at a really high level. But he was never necessarily that dude. But he played long enough to continue scoring. Ovechkin is the modern day Gretzky in the sense that he is the best scorer in the league for a whole lot of years.
I was happy that he got a ring. I was happy about that.
Stoked. And what he did with the cup was probably the best cup celebration of all times when he had it for 24 hours. So, but Ovi is on another level. And when he gets that one-timer and he can get that slap wrister going, he's a sniper.
Yeah.
Absolute sniper.
Don't let Pinky have time with the cup. There's some things Pinky would do that's just not mentionable.
No doubt. I am proudly able to say I touched the cup even though I was not supposed to. But I wasn't going to let it be that close to me and not get my fingers on it. So I took my opportunity.
That was a good
Plus,
story.
I'm never going to be a professional hockey player, and I knew that. So there was no voodoo that I had to worry about with touching it before I earned it.
So I got to mention, coming back to Tom Brady, I was excited when he came back. It's kind of weird to feel that. But since he's been in Tampa, his social media game's on point. He's fun. He played really well. It just
understatement.
It was fun. I like Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Him and Mike Evans make sweet love out on the field.
Whitefield, right?
Huh?
Wasn't he from Whitefield?
No, Vincent Jackson.
Vincent Jackson, thank you. That's right.
Mike Evans went to Texas A&M, but Mike Evans is like one of the biggest, most physical wide receivers ever. I enjoy watching him play. So then, but him and Tom Brady on the field together, it's like Mike Evans won't catch a ball, and the next thing you know, he's got 3 catches for 3 touchdowns. Like,
yeah,
it's insane.
And 20 yards.
And as fantasy guys, we always keep up with that. But it was really fun because I was excited, and I was like, I hated Tom Brady on the Patriots, hated him, and I was like, it's the Patriots.
I will say I did not appreciate his greatness until it was a little too late in his Patriots career, just because he was knocking my teams out. But definitely appreciate the greatness now, and I am happy to see him come back for another year just to see what he can do. I mean, like you said, led the league in touchdowns and passing yards last year.
Dude,
so
they're gonna. It's almost the mirror of Aaron Rodgers in the North. Aaron Rodgers is gonna run that division. Tom Brady's gonna run the South. There's nothing in the South.
Whoa. Cody, breaking some news for us here. I don't know how I missed this. Tampa picked up Russell Gage.
They did today.
That's huge. That's huge. That dude is underrated. And now you got Tom Brady throwing him the ball. Watch that dude go for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns this year.
Well, that might be bold, but
with Tom Brady, man, Russell Gage is that type of dude, I think. I think he is supremely underrated. I thought he would have a breakout year last year, and the Falcons' offense was just trash.
All right, so I'm gonna remove my Brady love. Carson Wentz got traded to the Commandos. I like to call them the Commandos.
I think that's too nice. I think that makes it sound like it's a cool team.
I just like it. Commanders is
such a. Don't give them something cool, Pinky. They didn't earn any of it.
Commanders
do that.
Commanders is such a bad name.
Yeah, it's awful. But that's why you shouldn't make it cool by calling them the Commandos. They picked it. Let them be the Commanders.
Who in the marketing department signed off on that?
The owner. The really terrible owner. Well, he turned over operations to his wife, so it could be maybe her that made the decision. Possibly, I don't know. But I mean, terrible.
He did that so he doesn't get in trouble.
Oh yeah,
we agree on something, Caleb. Cheers.
I'm gonna have a watered down whiskey sitting upstairs when I get out of this. I will not forget it next time. I assure you.
How bad do you have to be that, according to reports, the Washington Commanders called every team in the league about trading for a quarterback?
I don't think it has anything to do with how bad the team is. They got talent left and right, especially on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. That D line is nasty.
And where
do you Dan Snyder, dude?
Where do you settle on? I have to give up draft picks for Carson Wentz, or I can sign Trubisky, Mariota, or Winston.
So here's the deal.
Or Bridgewater.
You're Teddy. No, Pinky. No.
Or
I would much rather have Wentz over Teddy.
Or Heineke, which I think is like Carson Wentz light. He's not as good as Carson Wentz, but
I could give you Carson Wentz. I kind of like Heineke. I think he needs. He had his shot last year. I don't think he played as well as he needed to keep the starting job. Here's the deal with Wentz. You go back and look at his numbers. He had a good year, not an okay year. He had a good year. So to me, all that tells me is everything you've heard about him in the locker room, the leadership is true. It also tells me the Colts do not have anybody, coaching staff, front office, whatever you want to say, leadership-wise, to keep him accountable. I think Frank Wright isn't as good as a coach as people thought he was. I think that says a lot about him and his leadership. If he couldn't get Carson to behave, if you will. But he went to a really great situation with Ron Rivera. And you know Ron Rivera don't play no games. So if Wentz messes up, Rivera's going to have no problem sitting him and letting Heinicke play. So it's shape up or shape out. And this is Carson Wentz's last chance. So he's either going to learn from Rivera and learn how to grow and be a man, or he's going to be done as a starter. As far as talent, though, they got to steal. I truly believe they got to steal.
Well, and they've got to. So McLaurin is better than anything on the Colts roster, receiving wise.
Yeah, absolutely, by leaps and bounds.
So looking at what Wentz had last year, Pittman's nice, but he's kind of a number 2.
Yeah,
kind of
Logan Thomas is better than anything that the Colts have. So if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And then they've got a young stud running back in Gibson. So it's not like he's losing a run game. Now, it's no Jonathan Taylor, okay? Everybody knows that. But Gibson's a nice running back as well. So if they bring in a quarterback who can get the ball out and use those weapons, that defense can get back to what everybody thought they should have been. They could be a sneaky team next year in the East.
I'd rather keep the draft picks and take Mariota, though, in my opinion.
Look, I'm not arguing with that.
It saves you on the cap, too.
Because Mariota or Trubisky, I think, would have been a better option, especially after seeing what Pittsburgh was able to sign Trubisky for. It would have been fine. What's really interesting is the fact that I'm surprised the Colts haven't signed Mariota yet. That's what's blowing my mind right now.
Well, they called about Deshaun Watson, and Houston said F you and hung up the phone.
Houston's stupid. They're not going anywhere. And if the Colts are going to give you the best deal, take it. Like, what is wrong with you? I don't understand. That'd be like in fantasy if we were playing and I go, you know what? I'm not trading you because we all play in the same division.
Well, the Colts don't have a first-round pick, so they don't have a whole lot to work with to begin with. But
just saying, if they give you the best deal, you take it. You don't care if they're in the same division.
I would agree with that. Now, let's see here. The other trade, this one sparked a lot of hype. Khalil Mack to the Chargers.
Man, I already said that defense had weapons, and then they went and added Mack, and then they just signed J.C. Joyner.
J.C. Jackson, yes.
J.C. Jackson, sorry.
So, Khalil Mack, I've always felt is really good, but if you really break down his numbers, he's really good in like 3 games a season. Like in 3 games, he will get most of his sacks in those 3 games, and then he disappears for multiple games.
But you have to remember, a lot of that's due to the fact that he had nobody playing opposite him. So the dude's getting double and triple team most games. Now you can't do that because Bosa's on the other side. So you're picking your poison. You're either going to let Bosa run wild or you're going to let Mack run wild. So his stats could look the same like you're talking about. He's going to disappear for games, not because of talent. It's because they're throwing everybody at him instead of Bosa.
Maybe Bosa will help. Now, again, my biggest thing with it, can you keep them both out of the trainer's room? Because they're always hurt, both of them.
Yeah, well, and that goes for their safety, too. Derwin James, I think, could arguably be the most talented defensive player in the league. Dude can't stay on the field.
I have no problem saying Derwin James, completely healthy, doesn't miss a game, is the best safety in the league.
Oh, there's no question there. No question there. We're on the same page for sure on that.
Another chink. That's one of the things I did want to bring up. So the Chargers have signed, they traded for Mack. They've signed J.C. Jackson, who's a corner from New England. They signed Sebastian Day and Austin Johnson, who are both defensive tackles, try to help with the run game. They did re-sign Mike Williams, which I still think is an overpay. 3 years, $60 million, $20 million a year.
It's a lot. It's a lot. But I think last year he stayed healthy.
He never played a full season, though.
A lot. He could be a top 10 this year.
He never played a full season, though. Like, what are you going to get? And then, so with those signings, everybody's like, they're automatically a Super Bowl contender. Some of the talking heads, I picked them over the Chiefs to win the division. Look, guys, the Chargers have choked for every year they've been picked to do anything. On paper, they look great. These moves are exciting. Nothing wrong with being excited about your team. Nothing wrong with that. But to say they're Super Bowl contenders when they haven't made the playoffs in multiple years, you got to put in the work first.
Raiders screwed them last year. Raiders screwed them. Should have been a kneel. Should have been a tie, and the NFL should have been up in arms.
Hey, stop them from doing anything. Win the game on your own.
Well, coach shouldn't have called a timeout, and it would have been an overtime tie.
Mistakes were made, as we know, but they could have won that game before overtime.
They could have.
In fact, I give the Raiders credit because the Raiders have literally zero talent on that team compared to the Chargers, and they shouldn't even won the game if the Chargers are that good, as people say they are. People keep saying they're so good.
Let's get to the final topic because I got a comment to throw out there before we start this and wrap up everything this evening. And I don't think it's a hot take. I know people are going to feel like it is, but I don't think it's a hot take.
I've got multiple
On paper,
I got multiple things.
Broncos have the best roster in the AFC West.
Well, we'll get there. Amari Cooper traded to the Browns.
We're already in the AFC West. We're already there.
We always save that for last, Caleb.
We're there. Who cares? Amari Cooper to the Browns. Who cares? Baker Mayfield's still the quarterback. Until that changes, I don't care. They let Jarvis Landry go. Who cares?
For how long?
Unless Watson goes there, the foreseeable future.
They met with Deshaun Watson. You don't think that affects Baker's status there?
No. What's Baker going to do? Ask for a trade? He's not starting anywhere else in the NFL. He's not stupid. He knows he has to prove it this year or he's screwed.
He could start for the Colts right now.
The Colts aren't signing Baker Mayfield.
He could start for the Seahawks. Geno, Drew Lock, or Baker. I mean,
I don't think anybody else is taking Baker right now, buddy. I don't think anybody else is taking Baker. So it doesn't matter to me. Get to the topic people want to hear about because that's the biggest news of the NFL last week.
Well, we're getting there. Deshaun Watson has 4 teams that he's meeting with. The Texans told the Colts no. Deshaun Watson has met with the Panthers and Saints. Trade compensation's already been kind of confirmed. He met with the Browns today, meeting with the Falcons tomorrow. Awkward silence. Caleb, what are your thoughts?
I don't have any. None of this means anything to me. Absolutely nothing. I don't care until it's something that has something to talk about.
Of those 4 teams,
somebody who talked about something, don't care. Don't care. As far as I'm concerned right now, Houston could turn around and be like, give us our asking price or his ass can sit another year. And it doesn't hurt him at all. None. And Deshaun Watson, as far as I'm concerned, is ruining his NFL career because he should not be worrying about a no trade clause and going where he wants.
That's not technically true because they owe him like $40 million.
So, did it hurt him last year?
Well,
they're not losing draft picks. They can push that money out for years to come if they really wanted to. It doesn't hurt them at all.
Let's be honest. The Texans suck so bad, they could eat that $40 million and it wouldn't affect them any.
No, it doesn't. And he can sit and they can pay him. And you know what happens? By the time his contract's over and they don't have to pay him anymore, he's not playing in the NFL anymore. So the fact that he's out there acting like I've got this no trade clause and I'm going to go where I want to, if I'm Houston, I say, here's the deal. This is the best offer we have. You either go to them or you can go sit another year. Because all they're going to do is build draft picks and keep moving forward.
All right, quick hit. You already mentioned Trubisky to the Steelers. Like it or love it?
I love it. I think that's a solid, smart signing by the Steelers.
Yeah. Doesn't move the needle for me, but
it will by week 3 when you start seeing him ball out with Tomlin.
I don't believe in Tomlin that much.
What? He's never had a losing season, and that was with Mason Rudolph playing quarterback. What do you mean you're not high on? He is the best.
Whoa! Don't you forget Duck Hodges?
Oh my God! Blasphemy out of your mouth, Pinky. Tomlin is the second best coach in the NFL behind Belichick. Not even close.
Jaguars overspending. I always hate seeing teams like this spend A+ money on B- talent.
It's only overspending if they don't perform. I think Kirk's about to have a break.
The only guy that might perform up to his contract is Brandon Sheriff, and that's it. And Caleb is frozen now. All right. Ron Moon knows Pinky's been drinking. So, Caleb, go get your charger, buddy. Log back in. I'm going to run this show solo. Caleb's not here. Jaguars got Zay Jones for $30 million. Christian Kirk for $84. Brandon Sheriff for $49.5. And Evan Ingram for $9. Why not sign DJ Shark for $10 million a season instead of Christian Kirk? Why not keep Dan Arnold, who you already have, who had better numbers than Evan Ingram? Why sign Evan Ingram? Doesn't make sense. Zay Jones, $30 million. Keep Chenault, much better value. They still have to sign their left tackle, Cam Robinson. So I don't like the overspending. Shows desperation. I don't like it. Let's see. Raiders, pretty much free agency. They signed Max Crosby to an extension, $98 million. Good on him, right? Oh, I got to let Caleb back in the room. Hold on. He's back.
Difficulties. My bad.
He's back. I poo-pooed on the Jaguars. I was just commenting on the Raiders signing Max Crosby for $98 million, and that's their free agency.
Crosby earned it. He's been playing phenomenal. It's just Ruggs going down, the way he ended his career. That's a huge hit to that offense. They let Zay Jones walk. Obviously, weren't going to pay him what the Jags did. That's another hit. Waller came out and said he wants to be used all over the field this year. McDaniels will get creative with him for sure, but they're the fourth best team in the West, and it's not even close.
I'm not sure I'm sold on McDaniels at all, right? I mean, his first go around didn't go very well. So, and he's been behind Belichick, so it's kind of an unknown on how he'll do. Will he do as good as Gruden?
I think McDaniels is going to do fine. I think he learned his lessons. I think he knows what's going on now. I think he's going to be great for that organization, honestly. They just don't have anything.
I do agree with Ron. Max earned it. I do like Max Crosby a lot.
I just said that. Ron Moon is correct. He's absolutely right, but that's exactly what I said. He earned all of that money.
Unlike you, I'm commenting on our guys, okay?
I'm still trying to pull stuff up, okay? I can't see everything yet. I'm learning this technology thing as we go.
A really good thing, I know you'll be excited about this. The Bengals assigned 2 offensive linemen to start.
Were they the right offensive linemen? Or did they just throw some money at some guys? That's what I'm curious to see.
Alex Kappa's pretty good. He came from the Bucs.
He played with Brady.
He's a pretty good guard.
Burrow's IQ is not the same as Brady's IQ
Bro,
when it comes to adjusting at the line.
If you put Alex Kappa and Joe Thuney next to each other, it's the same fucking guy. Joe Thuney got $20 million more than Kappa. So
I don't think they're bad signings.
I think it's a good signing.
I don't think they're bad signings.
And again, it's still there's Burrow. Like, hey, I know I'm going to play with Burrow. I'm still going to play in Cincinnati. So they still have to overpay a little bit. It's Cincinnati.
We'll see. I think if they're smart, they do nothing but address the offensive line in the draft for the first 3 rounds and pray at least 2 or 3 of the guys hit. They've got all the weapons they need. They're young, so they don't have to fill slots.
They have a lot of skill position players. O-line, cornerback, D-line is really their biggest needs. Other than that, they're pretty good.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't hate the moves by any means. I just wonder if they were the best moves they could have made.
So, before we get to the Broncos, got to talk about the Cowboys. Now, I'm not sure the strategy in Dallas. Because
I'll tell you the strategy. It's called senile. And Steven can't convince Jerry to relinquish the reins yet.
When did Dak Prescott get good?
He's good. Look. The play calling, we all agree, fell off a cliff at the second half of the season.
So
play calling was terrible.
When is the exact moment that Dak became really good? It's one thing. I can tell you that one thing right now.
What?
It's the week they traded for Amari Cooper. From that moment on, Dak was on a whole nother level.
What they could afford to let Amari go though because they have CeeDee Lamb now.
So what?
They still have a number 1, and Gallup's still a number 2. They're fine offensively. Weapons-wise, there's no issues there. I'm not trying to say CeeDee is necessarily as good as Amari right now.
I'm a Gallup guy. Colorado State, I'm a Gallup guy. He's not worth the $57 million they gave him, and they could have just kept paying Amari, and the money's almost the same.
You have to give CeeDee the touches. There's a stat I saw the other day. When he had at least 7 targets a game, he averaged more than 70 yards and a touchdown. So all they're doing is trying to open up. Look, CeeDee is more explosive than Amari. Period. That's a fact right now. He may not be as good of a route runner, but he is more explosive, especially with the ball in his hands. So all they're trying to do is allow CeeDee to finally show out. You keep Gallup as the number 2, which I don't hate at all. The real question in Dallas is do they commit to the run game? And if so, is Zeke healthy and can he have a bounce back year? I think all those things are yes. The problem for Dallas, I still feel like, is the fact that their defense still isn't going to be top 10. It's going to be lucky to be top 15. And with that being the case, they're probably not going to be very good as far as getting past the first 2 rounds of the playoffs.
Don't be honest with Dallas fans. Their defense wasn't that good. They just got a lot of turnovers.
Dude, they went from 32nd to like 16th. And people were acting like they were a top 10 defense.
Well, and most of that's based on turnovers. And
most of it's based on the scheme that the new defensive coordinator brought in.
You can't rely on turnovers year to year, though.
Yeah, you can.
You can.
You absolutely can.
You cannot.
Yes, you can. That's the scheme you play.
The ball does not always bounce your way.
I think if that's the way you want to play defense, it's going to bounce your way more than it's not. Because that's what you're trying to have all the time. Now, do I think that's a winning defensive idea? No, I don't. Because you're going to give up points that way. And if you play the right team on the wrong day, you're going to get smoked, i.e. the Broncos.
Whoop, whoop.
But But I mean, if that's the way they want to play defense, I think it's fine. I just don't think it's championship winning strategy.
So they signed Gallup, good money. They re-signed Malik Hooker, who's a safety. They franchise tagged Dalton Schultz. I have no idea why they did that.
They had to. They had to. They couldn't afford to pay him a long-term contract what he was going to get on the open market, and they need him. He's a good tight end.
He is a good tight end. I can agree with that. I just don't think you franchise tag him, but that's me. They had to.
I got my chat back up. Shout out to Cody. That is exactly what they're trying to do, Cody. Jerry needs to start bankrolling so that his illegitimate child can get paid. Smart.
Jerry's never worried about money. That dude makes a lot of money. He makes Cowboys fans think they have a shot every year and just keeps bringing in the money. I mean, not many people did score you points in fantasy, though, Ron. Sorry, buddy. It was a rough year for all of us. The Cowboys did extend DeMarcus Lawrence, so they didn't have to cut him. So that worked out well. And then they signed Randy Gregory as well. Or did they?
Jerry tried to get too smart again, and it cost him.
After the details came out, it was a pretty shiesty move on the Cowboys' part. We're going to agree to this contract with you after you have agreed to it. Okay, now we're going to sprinkle in these terms that we didn't tell you about originally. Can't do that. You can't.
Not with a free agent who is coveted.
Who already had a deal on the table.
Yeah, not smart.
So the story, the Broncos actually had a good deal on the table for him last night. Jerry Jones talked him into staying. Once he agreed to stay, then the contract guys got in and said, "Oh, wait, we're going to write these into the contract." And he was like, "Why am I going to do that? I'll just go to Denver."
Oh, by the way, I have my buddy who already got a red card, and I'm mile high. So see you, Jerry.
I'm out, Jerry. Peace.
Look, I'm wearing it. I am a huge Gregory fan because he's a Nebraska guy. That's my boy. Love him. And he's talented, super talented. I don't like the deal for the Broncos. Don't like it.
The fan base was very torn.
It's a big what-if contract, man, for somebody who, one, has issues with suspensions, which shouldn't be an issue anymore because the NFL doesn't taste for marijuana. So that shouldn't be an issue at all. But he does have some issues with just staying healthy and being on the field to begin with.
So I had a guy, and I told a guy, I was like, I just don't like the deal. And a guy like, oh, he's going to be so great. And he was kind of throwing me under the bus. And I was like, look, I'm risk averse. I will admit that.
You are.
I'm risk averse. He could be great. He could be. But when you give a guy $70 million when you're in a championship window and he's been suspended 5 times,
stuff that he won't get suspended for anymore. That's what I'm saying. That shouldn't be a worry for any Broncos fan.
Hopefully.
But they're not going to suspend him for marijuana again. That's not going to happen. It's just not. And it's legal in Colorado, so he can smoke to his heart's content, and he's not going to have to worry about the law either. As long as the dude Ubers, he'll be fine.
So, now if you look at the measurables, his length, his speed, his ability to get off the edge, looks like a great signing.
He's also a great defender against the run.
And he's
an edge guy.
So the other two guys, Chandler Jones, Von Miller. Obviously, we all have an affinity for Von Miller. Chandler Jones has had great production. He's 32 years old. Von's 33.
What's Gregory, 28?
29.
29.
Been pretty typical for the Broncos to sign a guy that's hitting his prime versus signing a guy that's on the outside of his prime. So
it's not. Here's.
It's only 28
because I think it's a lot of money. the money is what hesitates me. However, though, when you really sit back and think about it, the reason I'm not mad about it is because they got money to spend. The Broncos had money to spend, and they didn't have a lot of holes they needed to fill. They can take care of the O-line in the draft if they want to. They can still go out and find, a second or third tier guy with the money they have left. The rest of their defense was fine, and their offensive weapons and everything were set. So really grabbing that edge rusher at maybe a little bit more than you needed to spend isn't going to hurt him at all.
The defense coordinator wants to attack. That's a good chess piece to have. Their other signing of free agency is probably even better. They signed a big boy from the San Francisco 49ers. 3 years, $30 million for DJ Jones to play right in the middle to stop the run.
How to get something to make up for Shelby Harris leaving in the trade.
Well, Shelby's more of the outside versus this guy's taking over the nose, basically.
Shelby didn't play outside, though. He played inside with the Broncos.
We played 3-4. He played an edge.
If it's a 4-3, he's playing inside.
But we're not playing 4-3. We're playing 3-4.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. He's still playing inside. He's still on the line. If you're playing a 3-4 and you're on the line, you're playing inside. You're not a rusher. You're not an edge rusher in a 3-4 if you're playing on the line.
Look, I love fat guys. DJ Jones is exactly like what I like. Give me those big boys in the middle that can generate some pressure. They take up blocks and they stop the run.
That's what you got to do. You got to open up the holes. You got to take on those defenders so your rushers and your linebackers can get to the ball.
I'm all for it. And again, George Paton, did he take some swings? Sure. I don't care. He got Russell Wilson. I don't care.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate you, Ron. Smart guy, Ron.
He's not a D tackle, Ron. He was a DN in a 3-4. He did play the run well, but he didn't play the same position as DJ Jones.
Pinky. He was a D tackle. Guess what? Duncan was a center. Just because you want to call yourself something doesn't mean you're actually that.
Let's not talk Spurs. Don't bring Spurs up in here. Spurs are awful. I don't think Sam's watching anymore, but Spurs
he just commented. Awful. Sam's arguing. Sam's always going to argue if I say something.
That's true. And you are arguing with me, which is fine. But yeah, exactly, Sam. Sam knows what's up. The best part about being in the recording studio is I don't have anybody commenting. Best part.
I love it. Bring it all. Everybody bring it.
No, Ron, that is not true. Not at all. So, I'm super stoked about the Broncos. I'm super excited.
Are you going to mention the one thing that really matters finally? Are we going to talk about that at all?
I'm drinking.
Or did you mention that when I had my technical difficulties and we're just moving on?
Maybe. What refresh my memory. What are we talking about?
I don't know, this quarterback that they traded for and finally gave him a chance to win now.
Yeah, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, so you talked about that when I had my technical difficulties?
No, I mean, I just mentioned it, though. Like, I don't care what Patton does now. He already got Russell Wilson. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, like, you're just glossing over the fact that one piece put them in Super Bowl contention.
Well, and I think that's actually the point I would probably comment on is I'm so sick of the talking heads that Russell Wilson's the third best quarterback in the division. That could be true.
It is true.
Physically.
It is true.
Physically, maybe.
Dude.
Herbert's probably better physically, but no. Herbert hasn't done shit in this league.
What? What? Pinky!
He's played 2 years.
Oh, my God. And those 2 years have been phenomenal.
And Russell Wilson still has more touchdowns in a season than Herbert's ever had. So he hasn't done as much as Wilson, period.
Nobody cares if you've done as much. It's what have you done for me lately? If you're starting a team right now, you're going Mahomes, Herbert, Russ. You're not taking Russ over Herbert. You're not. You're just not. No. Oh, Pinky. I can't. No, buddy. No.
I'm sorry. I haven't seen Herbert do anything.
What? Are you
What
kidding
has
me?
he done? What has he done?
Did he throw for over 4,000 yards his rookie year? His rookie year? Rookie year. Oh my God.
Cam Newton threw for that.
Not his rookie year.
It was close.
No, it wasn't.
He had 400 yards in his first 2 games as a rookie. Bro, 4,000 yards in today's NFL doesn't move the needle for me. I don't care.
It should. It should.
It didn't result in wins.
Oh, by the way, by all accounts, he didn't even have an offensive line, and he's doing that, Binky.
I'm sorry. I'm still going to take Russell Wilson over a guy who's not done anything yet in the league.
Sam, we agree. Russ should be a 2-time Super Bowl champion. Pete Carroll ruined that opportunity.
We all know that.
Trying to get Russ an MVP.
We all know that. We all know that.
That still doesn't make him better than Justin Herbert right now.
Herbert hasn't done anything. I'm sorry. He hasn't.
Then neither has Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow's done more than Herbert.
Why? Because his team got to the Super Bowl?
Herbert
because
hasn't
a bunch of other teams just shit the bed? The Bengals didn't win all those games, dude. The other teams lost them.
Herbert's team had some of the highest odds to make the playoffs last year. They didn't make it. They choked. They lost to Teddy Bridgewater.
And that was on Herbert? That was Herbert's fault?
Absolutely. He's the quarterback, right? He's so good.
Man.
Again, it comes back to it's a team game. I'm just throwing it out there, Caleb. You know I like Herbert. I do.
Pinky.
It's a team game.
Russ is the 3rd best quarterback in the West, and I'll say it again. On paper, the Broncos are the best team in the West.
I don't know about that, Cody. Chargers are known for choking, my man. Sorry, bro. Until they make the playoffs, I'm not going to guarantee and stamp them that they're making the playoffs. They should have made the playoffs last year. They lost to a shitty Raiders team in a do-or-die game.
And that had nothing to do with the quarterback. That was coaching. Every bit of it. Herbert gave him a chance to win.
Hey, coach hasn't changed.
Nobody's learning. And I actually love that coach because he's the only one in the NFL who's willing to put his ass on the line and go for it and give his teams the opportunities to win. Ball's not always going to bounce that ugly for him, you would think. It could. It's the Chargers. It's kind of known for that. But Herbert is, if you're starting a team right now in the NFL, you're taking Herbert over Russ. Talent-wise, he has more talent than Russ right now. The only reason you would say Russ is better is because his mental IQ of the game is 10 years above Herbert's.
Russ is a better leader than Herbert right now. No doubt.
Seattle wouldn't say that. Nobody on the Seattle Seahawks would say that.
Seattle doesn't want to admit that they can't draft or get free agents worth shit, and they put him around a freaking awful dumpster fire of a team.
Dude, his teammates are coming out saying he checked out last year. That's not a leader.
Checked out? Please. He did everything he could to win games with that team. That team was garbage. You remove this year, they might be worse than the Texans this year.
Okay.
They're awful, man. They are awful. You put Russ back on that team, they were at least competitive. He missed a couple games because of injury. You put him on that team, they might have sniffed the playoffs. Maybe.
I'm not saying Russ is a bad quarterback. He's great. I'm still taking Herbert over him if I'm starting a team right now. And I think Herbert has more talent than him. A lot more talent, honestly.
I disagree.
Stronger arm. He can run just as well.
You're talking about the physicals.
Yeah.
You're talking about the physicals. Drew Lock has more physicals than Russell Wilson.
No, he doesn't.
6'3", arms just as good. He's just as athletic. Russell Wilson is a better leader, and he's a better quarterback, period. You're looking at the physicals.
No, I'm not. I'm looking at the whole package.
You are not.
You don't come in as a rookie and do what Justin Herbert did unless you have the whole package. You don't.
Or you have Austin Eckler. You have Hunter Henry. You have Mike Williams.
Eckler missed half the season his rookie year. Don't bring in Eckler. He wasn't even on the field.
Yeah,
that's why Josh Kelly and the other guys were all playing.
Eckler was on the field, bro.
Last year he was. Last year, not 2
years ago, he was too.
Pinky.
This is where I need Aaron to be looking up stats for me.
Keenan Allen was hurt too. Mike Williams was hurt. Yes, absolutely, Ron. Wilson has a better IQ. He's played the game longer. He knows more when it comes to looking at the field. And Herbert still is putting up better stats than him.
He's got better weapons than he's ever had.
He had DK and Lockett, man. Don't tell me he had weapons.
2 years. For the last 2 years with the shittiest O-line in the league.
Pinky, Herbert's only been in the league 2 years. So I can only compare the last 2 years.
Russell Wilson's second year, he was in the Super Bowl and he won it.
That had nothing to do with Russell Wilson.
Mic drop.
That had nothing to do with Russell Wilson.
Sorry, bro.
What do you Pinky, they only won that Super Bowl because of the defense. Arguably one of the best of all time. Without that defense, they don't win. They don't get to the Super Bowl without that defense. Russell Wilson did not put them in the Super Bowl. He's a great quarterback. He's going to make the Broncos a Super Bowl contender. I do believe he's the third best quarterback in the West.
You can believe it. I don't. That's fine. The Chargers are not the apps. Again, the Chargers are being, and again, this is what I hate. Chargers are being touted as the complete favorite, even over the Chiefs.
By who?
So many talking heads, man.
I haven't heard any talking heads say that. Not one.
Multiple on ESPN.
Who?
Multiple. I don't know them by name. I don't really like ESPN that much.
I watch ESPN 24/7. Like, that's my jam. I love ESPN. None of them are picking the Chargers over the Broncos. None of them. None of them are picking the Chargers as a Super Bowl contender. None of them. They're all doing that for the Broncos.
No. All I know, 3 teams out of the West are making the playoffs next year. I do think the Chargers will make the playoffs.
Yes. Yes. They're the NFC West of this past year.
Because, again, I don't believe in the AFC North. I think they'll beat each other up.
Well, by that theory, though, then the AFC West is going to beat each other up.
Steelers and Browns aren't making the playoffs next year.
The Browns still have a lot of talent. Like, it wouldn't be surprising if they made the playoffs. I'm not picking them to like I did last year. They do. They absolutely. They probably still have the best offensive line and run game in the league.
You know, the comments keep making me talk, and that's why we haven't stopped the pod yet. But
I love this live stuff, man. This is fun.
Oh,
Pinky, cheers. I wish I should have grabbed it during my technical difficulties, and I was in too much of a hurry. I feel naked without my glass.
Next time we do virtual, I have to go get another bottle of whiskey. This one's almost gone. I don't have to drive anywhere. I can, just keep drinking.
It's true. It's true. I can't wait to go sip on mine. My mouth's watering just thinking about it.
So anybody that's in the live stream, if you want to be on the pod, next time we do virtual, just let me know. I just need an email. We can have up to 10 people on this thing. Just got to let us know.
Yeah. Come join us. If you say anything stupid, that trigger finger is going to be real quick to dismiss you.
We've got some great guys. Cody, who educates us on the NHL. Ron, who's the best punter I've ever known. Sam's been in the chat back and forth.
Chris was in earlier. We've had a good little gathering this evening.
Curtis, who's a man after my own heart. So it's been a good evening. Needless to say, I'm super excited about the Broncos. I've got hope.
They're actually going to be worth watching.
I have no doubt the AFC West is going to have so many primetime games this season.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to be funny.
Sam, come be part of that 10. You know you'll love it.
And
you know you'd love it.
I'm putting it out there right now. The schedule gets released right after the draft. Broncos are playing opening night in LA. Russell Wilson.
I could see happening.
Russell Wilson's first game as a
Against the Rams.
Bronco is going to be in prime time.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because there's 3 teams that they would want to put in. The Cowboys are on the schedule. They're not going to make the Cowboys play on opening night, on banner raising night twice in a row. They're not going to do that to the Cowboys because the Cowboys will lose again.
I don't think Jerry cares about the win or loss. I think Jerry cares about the eyes, buddy.
They're not. I don't think they'll put the Buffalo Bills, which is the other matchup that looks good, and then Seattle. Or not Seattle, Denver. The second thing I will guarantee, Denver is going to go to Seattle week 2, and they're going to be the Thursday night football game on Amazon.
Could see that too. We'll wait and see, but I could see both of those happening. All right, wrapping it up. If you're a sports fan and you are not glued to the TV Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you are not welcome to come join us. And on that note, I appreciate everybody showing up, interacting with us. We absolutely love this. Pinky, way to set this up. It was a brilliant decision. And everybody, we love you. Hang out with your families. Go enjoy that time. We're out.